and welcome back to goldstocktrades.com. Today we have Simon Diakowski, CEO of Aztec Minerals, on the phone with us today. Simon, Aztec has had a really exciting 2020. Some are calling it a turnaround year in 2020 for Aztec. Do you agree with that?
Happy New Year, Jeb. Thanks for having me on. And yes, I agree with that wholeheartedly. 2020 was a turnaround year for Aztec. The year started off with a small financing, which culminated in a larger financing. So we were able to raise over $4 million throughout the last 12 months. We were able to increase trading and liquidity in the stock price. And through those two factors, we're able to recommence drilling at the Tombstone project, and as well we were able to consummate our joint venture on the Cervantes project in Sonora, Mexico with Kootenay Silver. So we accomplished a lot in those last 12 months, and we look forward to many more milestones ahead in 2021 as we continue work at Tombstone and then recommence exploration work at Cervantes. So it was a busy year. It was a turnaround for sure. And we're in a good position now with a better established gold market to come out of this year ahead.
Well, let's start talking, Simon, a little bit about this Tombstone project, because that's what really got me excited this year with Aztec, the Tombstone project, because it's a CRD target, similar to what we saw a couple of years ago with a company called Arizona Mining, which was taken out for over $1 billion by South 32. Talk to us about the progress on that project, and has anyone, seen the similarities, like what I've seen to the CRD targets at the nearby, I think it was the Hermosa area? Could you just highlight maybe the comparison and what some investors like myself are seeing?
Yeah, Hermosa is about 70 kilometers to the southwest of us, and that is famous for the Taylor deposit discovery that Arizona Mining made back in 2015. So they found what has turned out to be one of the biggest zinc deposits in the world underneath a past producing historic silver district called Hermosa. They found this in a CRD formation, and it was found with some deep drilling. We like Tombstone for the same reasons that Arizona Mining liked Hermosa, in the fact that it's the closest past producing silver district to Hermosa, and it's an area that's well known for having CRD deposits. So Aztec picked up an option to acquire 75% of Tombstone back in late 2017, and the Aztec team has been working diligently in those last 3 years to get the project ready for drilling and to better define targets. So to that end, last year in the first quarter, we conducted an AMT survey, which is a ground source geophysical survey to see if there were any buried conductive targets. So we did locate on that survey a number of targets below the past producing silver and gold open pit at Tombstone that need to be tested with deep drilling. So that was successful, and those today are untested. So we do plan to test those. But just to back up a little bit on Tombstone, Tombstone is a past producing heap leach gold mine. It's located on private land, and we have been drilling the shallow gold silver deposit from surface over the last few months and having great success with that. We've drilled thicker intervals of low-grade bulk tonnage heap leachable material. For example, hole 17 was 140 meters that graded 0.38 grams per ton gold and 20 grams silver, or 0.62 grams per ton gold equivalent. This stacks up very well to the average grade of a heap leach in Arizona, which runs between 0.4 and 0.6 grams of gold. And diving a little deeper into that, we hit a section in hole 17 of 82 meters that graded over a gram of gold equivalent. And the way that hole was oriented in the geology represented a true width. So we've discovered a lot of mineralization that previous operators had left when they ceased mining operations. So it's a very, very compelling target for us to continue to develop and expand. And that's where our focus will lie in the first 2 quarters of 2021, is to expand on our shallow reverse circulation phase 1 drilling program that was successful in the fall, and to prove out open pit heap leachable gold and silver ounces. I'll also note that within those thick mineralized intervals, there were some pockets of very high grade gold in a heap leach context. So, for example, hole 9 of our program last fall yielded a interval of 15.14 meters of 6.18 grams of gold and over 70 grams of silver. So on an equivalent basis, it was 15 meters of 7.15 grams per ton gold equivalent. And that started just a few meters down the hole. So it's shallow, high grade gold in an open pit environment, which is, extremely encouraging for us. So that's why we, with grades like that near surface in a heap leach environment, we had to start exploring those first, as they, that's really near-term value that we can add to shareholders. And we have by no means abandoned our deep drilling ambitions. So we plan to embark on that later in the year to test some of these CRD Taylor style targets, the Arizona mining style targets. We have several targets on the property that we will prioritize for deep core drilling throughout the year. So it's going to have another dimension this year. We'll be drilling to build out a near surface oxide gold silver resource, and as well to test deeper polymetallic targets, which, if are successful, would add a completely different dimension to the project.
Yeah, so that's really interesting. You have the near-term potential with the gold oxide, and you also have that whole other upside of a historic silver district deep down below. You found some really high-grade silver, almost 3,000 grams per ton silver on a new target with no historic drilling. So there's lots of upside potential at Tombstone, and we'll have this near-term gold production scenario that could maybe help bring some funds in to develop the targets, that the high grade silver targets. Is that what you might be saying, Simon?
Yes, that's pretty much what I'm saying. We've got shallow stuff to drill off first, and I'll note that the shallow drill program allowed us to vest the work component of our option to earn a 75% interest in the project. So we have yet to form a joint venture with our partners that we're optioning from, but that was a good way to spend what we had to spend, and it was $1 million over 4 years. So we've now spent that. Subject to their review and making a final cash and share payment, we'll have a 75% interest in the project, which was a huge goal for us to accomplish last year, which we've now done. And I will also note, Jeb, that we have increased the overall land package to over 1,000 acres now. So that's another important factor. Is we bought some land and we staked some land. So anytime we're able to expand, what is largely a private land package in a mining friendly state, we've taken that opportunity. So that was something that we accomplished in a couple of phases over the fall, and we'll look to continue doing. And yeah, you mentioned that the high grade silver. So we've done some sampling work in and around the contention open pit, specifically in some historic mine dumps west of the historic pit. And one of the samples returned 47.2 grams of gold and over 2,800 grams of silver on a new target that's had no mining or drilling on it. So there's shallow exploration upside, there's development upside from drilling around and below the old pit, and then there's of course there's some blue sky in those deep CRD targets below the pit as well. So lots for us to explore, but we want to make sure that we do it in a logical manner that preserves the capital structure so that investors can benefit if we're successful in adding more value to the project.
Before we discuss 2021 plans, let's talk about the Cervantes project, which I don't really believe the market is giving you much value for. You have this Cervantes project, 65-35 joint venture with Kootenay Silver. I remember when the company first came public, it was a pretty exciting project. I mean, you were able to hit 160 meters of 0.77 grams per ton gold. Uh, could you highlight the project and why the market may eventually give value to this project?
Yeah, it was our listing project. It was our flagship when the company went public back in 2017. And you correctly highlight that the initial drill program did hit 160 meters of 0.77 grams gold right from surface in what looks to be an oxide cap to a gold copper porphyry system. So just to back up a little bit, it's a 3,600 hectare property in Sonora, Mexico. It's west of the Mulatos Gold Belt. So it's about a 4-hour drive west of Hermosillo, and it's right in an area of active mining, notably the La India mine, and active development in Minera Alamos Santana project to our south. So it's a great location. It's located on private land, so it's another bonus for us. Is well, it's not even a bonus to be honest, because we are only focused right now on projects that are on private land, so it fits within that model. And when it was phase one drilled by Aztec in 2017 and 2018, all 14 holes hit heap leachable grades of gold, very consistent heap leach gold mineralization or potential heap leach mineralization. And that was about a 2,400 meter core drilling campaign. And it successfully vested Aztec's interest in the project with the work commitment. And then we've since been working on getting the actual joint venture agreement with Kootenay Silver, who owned it before, signed. So that we just finished in late December. Finally got that done, inked, and announced. And now we're in a position to recommence exploration activities on the project. So that's, to your point, it's something that should get more attention throughout the year as we work with our partners at Kootenay Silver to design a recommencement of exploration. And it did lose a bit of interest in the market, I think, because when those discovery holes were hit in 2018, specifically that 160 meter interval of 0.77 grams gold, that was in an era of a different metals pricing environment. That was before we got into our new world this year, so to speak. So I think if those holes had been drilled in 2020, this company and that project would be worth a lot more than it is today. But therein lies the opportunity for investors in 2021 as we'll recommence and plan and permit a phase two drilling program.
Yeah, especially a significant new porphyry gold copper discovery at the California zone. Copper was a much and copper's now at 350 and gold at 1900. I think that could get more attention in 2021. Simon, could we discuss 2021 and talk to us about what's going to be the next steps for the company, news flow, drilling, geological mapping, sampling, permitting, M&A activity. What's going to happen in 2021?
So a lot's going to happen in 2021. I wouldn't be surprised if it was busier than 2020. But to start, we're working on finalizing the 75-25 joint venture for the Tombstone project now that we've spent sufficient capital to meet our work expenditure requirement of the option. We'll then move into a phase two RCE drilling program at Tombstone. So that's going to be targeting the shallow epithermal gold and silver mineralization that we've been drilling throughout the fall with infill and step out drilling. So testing some new targets and infilling between where we had good success last year and building out the basis for a potential initial resource estimate there. We'll then get into the core drilling, the targets that we mentioned earlier in the interview, where we'll be drilling with the core drill into the CRD targets delineated by historic drilling by other operators, as well as by the surveys that AZTEC has completed to date. Then moving into Cervantes, we'll be working with our partners to plan and permit a phase 2 drill program. But the first part of that will be the mapping and sampling. So we've got some legwork to do. We want to make sure that we're attacking the project in the right way. So we'll finish off some sampling and some mapping this spring, and get going on our drill permitting and organize the logistics for a drill program later in the year. So potentially we'll be drilling on 2 projects over 2021, and that should provide us with many touch points and catalysts to gain market value for our shareholders from the current $25 million market cap that we have right now, which I feel is quite undervalued.
Simon, before we conclude, let's highlight the technical team and the board, people on the board. AZTEC has a great team and some experienced people that have actually produced precious metals.
Yeah, so we've got experience through the full cycle of the full mining cycle, really, and that's a great aspect of AZTEC. So we're led by our founder and chairman, Brad Cook, who your listeners and viewers would be familiar with as the founder of Endeavour Silver and the current CEO, which has been obviously on a huge run this last year. So Brad is the largest shareholder. He's firmly involved in AZTEC as the chairman. So it's great to be working with Brad. On the technical side, on the management team, Joey Wilkins is our VPX and Chief Geo. He is based down in the region, down in Arizona. So he's an expert in that part of the US and Mexico. He was based in Mexico for 6 years with an emphasis on porphyry systems. So as you mentioned, our Cervantes project is a gold copper porphyry. We've drilled good gold, but we actually haven't drilled any of our copper targets yet. So that's a whole nother dimension of the project, which we should have highlighted a few minutes ago. I neglected to mention that, there's a great copper target there, but Joey's an expert on those kind of systems, and he spent many years with Rio Tinto Exploration, then Kennecott. Rounding out the board, we've got some very well-known directors to support us, who many recognize from Far West Mining and Western Potash. Mark Rebliati, Mining Hall of Fame with the Hunter Dickinson Group. He's a board director of ours as well. So we've got experience from grassroots discovery through development through to production. So it's a really strong board to support us, and really strong technical team as well. So we've got all the ingredients there for a successful exploration company. And
you should note that Brad Cook recently bought shares in the market, and he participated in the recent private placement. So that's a good vote of confidence. There's about 56 million shares outstanding right now, and the market cap, I think, is around about 25 million market cap.
Yeah.
So it's still, I think, deeply discounted and not institutionally covered yet. So this is what kind of fits the mold for what I'm looking for and what my subscribers are looking for. And thank you, Simon. What's the best way that any of my subscribers could contact you to maybe have a conversation or to get more information?
Yeah, they can email me directly. Simon@aztecminerals.com would be a good way. And if anybody wants to phone me, that works as well. 604-619-7469. I'm happy to take a call. If I don't pick up, just leave a voicemail and I'll get back to you.
Simon Diakowski, CEO of Aztec Minerals, could be traded as AZT on the TSX Venture and as AZZTF in the US. Thank you so much for being here with us today and for giving us an update and review on 2020 and some outlook on for 2021. and looks like it's going to be an exciting and lots of news coming this year. Hopefully, only good news. And thank you so much, Simon, for being here with us today.
Thank you for the opportunity, and Happy New Year to you and to all your listeners on Gold Stock Trades.